Hey there guys, what's up? Ragtter here, welcoming you back to Ladder Anxiety. Competitive games can be stressful and hard to get into, but they can also be used as a means of relaxing. And it's quite late as I record this. I'm looking to unwind a little bit after a bit of a long day, so I'm going to jump on to Pokémon Showdown, and we're just going to play some random battles. We're going to have a nice, fun time against someone who is up as late as we are, or maybe it's not that late in their part of the world. Now, because those cries were particularly loud in my ear, I'm going to just turn the effects down real quick. Okay. So hopefully that didn't hurt you as much as it hurt me. So we have a Stoutland, a Rhyperior, a Lomomola, Caracosta, Florges, and Hariyama. So no Mega for us, but that's perfectly okay. We don't really need it. I want to go for the return onto the Skuntank. And we're going to do a lot more to the Skuntank than the Skuntank is going to do to us. So let's see if Skuntank has any last moves it wants to pull out. It is going to go for the Poison Jab. No picking up on the poison this time, though, although its Aftermath is going to severely cut into Stoutland's HP. And now my opponent has brought out Porygon 2, truly a devastating threat. I'm not entirely sure if I outspeed or not. One thing we can do, though, is we can go out to Rhyperior, who should be able to take the oncoming Tri-Attack. Takes it decently well, but does get paralyzed in the process. And I think we can shuffle this thing out with a Dragon Tail. No, it is carrying the Ice Beam, in fact. Was kind of hoping it would be a Discharge Porygon 2, but that is not the case. And that's perfectly okay. We get Hariyama out in return, excuse me. And now I think we can go for a close combat. The Tri-Attack is going to do quite a severe amount of damage, but the close combat will be knocking Porygon 2 out of the game. And even if it hadn't, that would have been okay too. We would have moved on and we would have found another way to beat Porygon 2. And if we couldn't, then we couldn't. And that would have been the simple way about it. You can't change everything. So, against this Pokemon, I don't really have the best options, but what we can do is go into Florges to take an attack. And it turns out I could have gone into a physical wall instead, as Florges is going to take the Psyshock. So I'm going to go for the Wish, as poor Florges is going to take another Psyshock. And now I'm going to go into Caracosta, and Caracosta is going to take the Psyshock. Actually takes it very well, and it's going to get its HP all nice and back. So now, I'm going to go for the Shell Smash. Oh, this Mesprit's carrying an Energy Ball, but that activates my weakness policy. So combined with the Shell Smash that I just activated, I should now be very fast and very hard hitting. So let's go for a Waterfall and see if we can't devastate this Mesprit. Oh, we bring it down so close! 8%. All those boosts, and, well, unfortunate for Caracosta, but these things happen. You just have to take it in stride as it goes. So now, it's time to bring Stoutland back out. And I say, we go for the return again. My opponent didn't show a ghost type beforehand, and I'm imagining they don't have anything to switch into the Stoutland directly. So, let's see what my opponent brings out in response. It is going to be Cacturne. Cacturne is a very scary and devastating Pokemon. Let's see what our return will be able to do to Cacturne. 97%, though we are going to go down to the Drain Punch, which is very unfortunate. But we do put a heavy dent into the Cacturne. And perhaps it will be enough for Hariyama to come in and finish the job. So I'm going to go for the close combat. Hariyama is going to hold on with just 9% HP, but Cacturne is going to go down at the cost of my defense and my special defense. And I haven't shown my last Pokemon, which is just an Alomomola. It's really nothing to write home about. But now Jumpluff is going to come out, and I think this is the perfect time to go into Alomomola. And I want to go into Alomomola basically so that I can get a Toxic off onto the Jumpluff, and I seem to be able to take those acrobatics quite well. So let's go for Toxic. Jumpluff probably going to go for something like the Leech Seed. No, it's going to go for the Acrobatics again. My Toxic is going to miss, unfortunately, but those things happen, you can't really avoid them. Jumpluff's very determined to knock out Alomomola with that Acrobatics, but I'm going to get the Toxic off, and Jumpluff is now in very serious danger. If it switches out, then it completely loses. Well, it doesn't completely lose, but actually, it doesn't really lose anything by switching out. I was thinking of an Unburdened Pokemon. Now, with Jumpluff this weakened, do I dare try to go into Florges? No, I'm just going to protect. I'm going to play it safe. Alomomola's trying to get off a U-turn, actually, but I am going to get my HP back. Now, I'm going to go for the Scald, predicting the U-turn, and maybe we can get a burn onto the next incoming Pokemon. Oh my goodness. Chandelure is going to take some damage. Not a tremendous amount. I am not the most offensive Pokemon out there. Now, I'm guessing the Chandelure, it is in fact carrying the Energy Ball. So we are trading blows a bit here. We're both going to regenerate our HP. So that Energy Ball did 60%. I'm not living another one. So I might lose a Alomomola here. I'm going to switch into Florges, who should then go down to the Energy Ball. Is actually going to hang on, though! Goodness gracious, Florges, look at you. So now I'm going to go for the Moonblast. Alright, I figured that would happen. But, now, with my Regenerator in tow, I should be able to go back into Alomomola, protect one last time to get my HP back in full. So it's at 44% now. And that's about what my Scald was doing, give or take. So, oh no. I wasn't able to hold on that time. And now it's up to Hariyama to finish the job. Well, undoubtedly the Chandelure is going to outspeed me, so we might as well put up a meek resistance. Go for the Bullet Punch and get taken down. I'll say GG. Because that was a good match indeed. And my opponent left without saying anything, but that's perfectly okay. So now we'll look for one more, just to round things out. So I get Glalie, who is my Mega. We also got Hippowdon, Swellow, Ninjask, Terrakion, and Toxicroak. So I'm a lot more confident with this particular draft than I was with the other one. So let's Mega Evolve, as Plus is going to go for a substitute, and I'm going to break said substitute. Now Glalie should be... It's actually just a point slower than the Plusle, but my opponent's going to switch into the Seismitoad, which is perfectly okay. I have means of dealing with that. I think. I actually don't. I think we have some pretty good means of handling the Seismitoad, so I'm not too worried. Although clearly the Seismitoad has something in store for me. So I think I'm going to switch into Hippowdon, kick up a Sandstorm, and Seismitoad's going to go for the knockoff, interestingly enough. I'm assuming my opponent was predicting the switch, because otherwise going for the knockoff on a Mega Pokemon is quite irrelevant. So now, I'm going to scramble my opponent's team a bit. I want to go for the Whirlwind, to try and see what else my opponent's got, and maybe force some switches. If I can rack up a bit of Sandstorm damage, and maybe bring that Plusle back in to force an unfortunate matchup, then I would be pretty happy with that. And if not, and if I get a bit unlucky, then that's perfectly okay too. You have to take these things in a sort of stride. So the Scald is going to do a fairly devastating amount of damage to poor Hippowdon, but it's going to bring out the Shuckle in return. And on this Shuckle, I feel like going for Toxic, because Shuckle's quite defensive, pretty hard to break through, likes to do lots of setup shenanigans, but I'm not particularly worried about the Shuckle. And my opponent's actually going to forfeit and leave with that. And we've still got a bit of time left in this episode, so let's leave this match and look for one more, just to round things off. So I get a Togekiss, and my opponent gets a Mismagius for his first Pokemon rather. My other Pokemon are Glaceon, Electivire, Hippowdon again, Slowking, and Kricketune. So seeing all of these in mind, I think what I want to do is switch out of Togekiss and save it for later if I possibly can, and go into Kricketune to try and set up the Sticky Web. The Sticky Web, and maybe get some taunts off onto this Mismagius. Try and stop it from being a hindrance if possible. Mismagius might generally be considered a low-tier Pokemon, both on Smogon and in the VGCs, but it's certainly not one to be underestimated, and it can pull a lot of surprises out from under its hat. You have to handle it very carefully. So my opponent taking their time with this thought. And I'm going to start the timer just because we are filming, and we don't have all day, unfortunately. I wish I could just sit and record all day. If I had an editor, I could probably get away with that, but I don't, so we have to make do. So my opponent is going to go for the taunt onto poor Kricketune, which is pretty smart. And this is probably going to force me to switch again. So in fact, I think I will do just that, and I'll go into Glaceon this time. Because Glaceon should be able to threaten this thing offensively. It does have Toxic, at least from what I saw. I didn't really get a good look at its moveset. I'm not overly familiar with Glaceon, so hopefully this proves to be interesting to use. And again, like I always say, if not, that's perfectly okay. We don't have to walk away with a big, mighty win under our belts. We can still have fun. I'm starting to get the inkling that my opponent might have seen my team, though, because that's a very powerful switch my opponent just brought in. I think, in turn, I will go into Hippowdon, because with Hippowdon's bulk, I should be able to take any number of hits from this thing. I should get my Sandstorm up. The Fire Blast is actually going to do a whole butt ton of damage, courtesy of that Life Orb. I definitely can't stand and take another one of those, but I can go into Slowking, who can take that significantly better. Actually, what item does Slowking have? It has leftovers, so I'll get a bit of HP regen at least, though it will be nullified by the Sandstorm I just put up. I should definitely be able to take a Fire Blast better than Hippowdon can. I was honestly expecting the close combat, but I suppose the Fire Blast is the safer option. You never know if I'm carrying a ghost type of some kind. So I'm going to get Slowking out here, and my opponent goes for a Hidden Power. I'm gonna guess that's Hidden Power Ice, maybe? Seems to make sense. Now, I'm not expecting the Infernape to stay in, but I'm also not expecting my opponent to really have anything, because you can only expect so much. So I'm going for the Scald here. Mismagius is going to take that and get the burn. So combine that with the Sandstorm damage, and it doesn't have a leftovers. I think I can get the KO with this next Scald. So it is going to throw out its Shadow Ball. I am going to be able to do quite a bit of damage, though I'm not going to be able to pick up the KO. Next turn it will go down though. So I'm going to go back into Kricketune, switching out of Slowking so it can get its Regenerator going. Kricketune is going to take that damage, unfortunately. The Sandstorm subsides and Mismagius ends up fainting. So now, does my opponent bring back Infernape, or will they show a different Pokemon? Infernape is going to come back out. I, at this point, have shown 5 out of 6 of my Pokemon. I think the only one I haven't shown yet is Electivire. So, I don't really need the Sticky Web. I'm just going to let Kricketune faint here. Infernape is going to take some more Life Orb damage, and my opponent's probably expecting Slowking to come back out, which it will, let's be honest. And I am expecting the switch again, but because my opponent switched into Mismagius before, I feel pretty safe in going for the Scald again, because I don't think my opponent has anything to take the Scald, and if they do, they've been very good about keeping it secret. So my opponent's next Pokemon is a Ledian. Ledian's going to take the attack pretty nicely. And with Ledian out here, I'm expecting some kind of Baton Pass setup, so I'm going to go for the Dragon Tail. Ledian is going to get off its light screen, and I'm going to force the switch into Unpheasant. With Unpheasant out here, I think I can very safely go into Electivire, as Unpheasant's going to go for the Night Slash and get a critical hit. Now, I'm going to go for the Volt Switch, and I want to do that basically to set up something a bit better. Because, again, I'm expecting my opponent to switch out of the Unpheasant, Maybe back into the Ledian. Okay. So I'm going to get my Volt Switch, and I'm going to be able to bring in... Who do I want to bring in? None of my Pokemon are particularly fast, but I can bring in Hippowdon to set up some more Sandstream. And because this Ledian's not a particularly large threat, I don't think. Oh, but I'm not carrying Slack Off, unfortunately. So instead I'm going to have to go for the Stealth Rocks. So Ledian's going to get whittled down. I'm going to get some of my HP back. And now my opponent has Entry Hazards out here. So, I feel pretty confident in going for a Stone Edge. It's absolutely going to destroy the Ledian, with a critical hit, unfortunately. That Roost was a smart play, trying to keep Ledian in play. And now Sceptile is going to come out. And with Sceptile out here... I mean, I have Glaceon. So if Glaceon can take a hit from the Sceptile, I can definitely bring it back. The thing is, do I want to sack off Hippowdon? And I think I kind of do. I'm going to go for the Toxic onto the Sceptile. It's going to go for the Leaf Blade. It's actually not going to pick up the KO. So Sceptile is going to get whittled down, both by Toxic and by Sandstream. Or my Sandstorm, rather. Sandstream is my ability, but it's being whittled down by the Sandstorm. And seeing that, I think I'm going to go... No, I'll let Hippowdon go down. I don't particularly need it if I can get rid of the Sceptile. So the Sandstorm subsides, and that's a perfect opportunity to bring in Glaceon. Now I am expecting the switch again, but I want to go for the Ice Beam. It's going to hurt whatever's going to come in. Unpheasant and Infernape do not like taking the Stealth Rocks, so I think I can set myself up into a pretty good position here. Sceptile is going to switch out, goes into Infernape. Infernape's going to take the Ice Beam, and it's going to take it pretty well at that. But I think this opens up the way for me to go back into Slowking. So we'll switch out of Glaceon, preserving it for later. Because I can feel this Infernape wants to get a KO. It definitely does. And I think Slowking is the means I have of achieving the best victory. Against the Sceptile, it's a bit shakier, but I do have the Dragon Tail to shuffle damage. I think I can work this out in my favor. So Infernape is just going to go for the Fire Blast. No fuss, no muss. And I think I go for Dragon Tail here. Because Dragon Tail will force my opponent to shuffle some more. It should pick up the Infernape. He is going to switch out into Unpheasant. Unpheasant's going to take the Stealth Rock damage. Dragon Tail's going to go off. And my opponent's last Pokemon is Purugly. Now, Purugly is surprisingly fast for a fat cat. So I want to go for the Scald. It has Fake Out. I want to go for the Scald to try and get the burn off onto the Purugly. So let's see if Slowking can't take a hit from Purugly. The Fake Out did do a lot, but that's a stab Fake Out. And Purugly shows that it is carrying the Life Orb. And you know what? This has been such a good battle so far, I don't even mind if we lose. My opponent has shown definite skill in their switches, and has done a very good job of keeping their key Pokemon alive. I just hope I have moved myself into a position where I can maybe get a checkmate, and once again, if not, then that's just the way of things, and we'll have to deal with it when it comes. So, Unpheasant comes back out, and Unpheasant is going to get washed away by the Scald. And I think my opponent's going to try and use that, indeed, to bring Sceptile back in. So of course I'm going to want to switch out. I'm absolutely not going to stay in with poor Slowking. Electivire is going to take the Leaf Blade. The critical hit's going to knock it out. And I think I go into Togekiss here. Now because I know the Sceptile is faster, I think I go for the Roost to try and see how much damage I can take from it. That is assuming it even wants to stay in. Actually, no, I'm going to go for the Air Slash. Because if I can whittle the Sceptile down enough, I believe I can take a hit from it. I resist the Leaf Blade. Its only other stab is Dragon, which I resist. So something's going to switch out. The Purugly's going to come in. Let's see how much my Air Slash is going to do. 38%. It is going to be able to get the Fake Out back in. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to switch into Slowking. The Fake Out's going to hit pour Slowking, and then I switch out again into Togekiss. And that'll get Slowking's Regenerator going. Basically, if I can get Slowking into a 1v1 against Infernape, then I have definitely won. So Togekiss comes out, and Purugly is going to faint because of the U-turn. So now my opponent has to be able to pick up the KO onto poor Togekiss. But I'm going to switch into Slowking as Infernape goes for the Hidden Power, and it's going to faint because of its Life Orb. So now Sceptile's out here. It's my opponent's last Pokemon, and I'm just going to take the hit. Sceptile's probably going to faint me. Oh, I am actually going to be able to hang on, though. And I'm going to knock it down to critical levels with my Dragon Tail. Say GG, smiley face. My opponent left, but they put up a great match. That was a lot of fun. Slowking definitely came through with its bulk there. And the threat of Togekiss was very scary for my opponent, obviously. So I'm very satisfied with that match. It was a very good battle. I had a lot of fun with that, and it was definitely a nice way to relax. As intense as the battle got, it did make me feel good, and now I feel a bit less stressed than I did coming into this. So I hope you feel the same way when you play on Ladder, when you keep these things in mind. If you have enjoyed this episode of Ladder Anxiety, please leave a like and a comment down below telling me how much fun you've had, and I will see you next time as we return to Pokemon Showdown. Until then, take care and have a good one. Bye-bye!